Hello and welcome to the Crazy Angels podcast. I'm with Pascal, Dennis, and David Logan. Hi, guys.
Hello.
How y'all doing?
Hi, guys. Good to see you. We are going to talk about a song from the upcoming album, which is called Pelican Ballet.
Anyway, that big, long speech that I just made, all that to say that this is not authentic Latin music. It's not trying to be. It's just Latin themed, Latin inspired. So if you're yelling at your screen saying those are not Latin rhythms, just calm down. It's cultural appropriation, All right, well, speaking of rhythm, let's do this. Let's just start off a little bit here with some drums and bass. It's stereotypically what we would consider a Latin drum beat to sound like. Of course, we have the mighty Davide Sambrota on piano. And, we added a little marimba for some of that island flavor,
Love that feeling.
And, just because we could, right? And then we have Luca Camarota holding it down on guitars. And where are we here? Here we are. Such a delicate touch on these guitars.
Wow.
Just delicious, man.
Bravo, Luca.
We're so lucky to have these guys. All right,
Bravo.
so so basically, there's not a whole hell of a lot to talk about. Latin music is it's very interactive. It's very live. So it is difficult to get sort of like quote unquote an authentic Latin sound, but we're enjoying it. We're having fun with it. We have this little horn intro on the top. The vocal processing, it's these same old, things that I tend to talk about here. The H3000, the pure plate reverbs, which are I guess you guys can't see that. Oh yeah, you can see that full screen, right? I hope. Anyway,
Yeah.
So this is the pure plate reverb. Anyway, so let's see, where are we here? Yeah, so that's for Pascal's voice, and then just very light and simple. This is called an algorithmic reverb.
Anything is lovely as a Pelican Ballet.
Yeah, and I've really trained Pascal because I told him soft P's. You don't say Pelican. It's Pelican. It's barely a
Pelican
Look
Ballet.
what a professional this guy is. I don't know if I coached you on that. Maybe you just naturally
You did.
Maybe it could be also that
That was me.
I
before
did
your
put
coaching.
a little bit of a fade on there, but anyway, all good. So that's it for the vocal processing, and then like I often do, I love bringing in strings. So on the first chorus, we have some very simple but elegant, very elegant, and this is combining a bit of that David Foster aesthetic on the string parts, and which is also being taken from the Frank Sinatra. David Foster is one of the greatest living producers.
Well, that's the pelican soaring. That's what they fly like.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
wonderful.
Right, and the drums and the bass are like the dancing, right? So the jerky movements, and yet these flowing, elegant lines. So then, we often do towards the second half of the second verse, we bring in strings on the verse as well.
And I like souk and salsa. regret.
Very, very understated, but it fills things out.
Fishing, I'm a poor man's Hemingway. I write goofy poems to pass the time of day.
Bring back the same basis of this string part, but then we add more onto the end of the second chorus, and then as you can see here for the third chorus, we change it up a little bit more even. So, but that's really it, And we for fun, we just put this xylophone, and I chose like normally it would be marimba, but I chose xylophone because it just had a stronger attack.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a solo, so and essentially it's just doubling what Davide played on the piano, which basically this would never be playable by a real xylophone player. But that's another point I guess I want to make is like it doesn't matter.
Well,
It doesn't matter if a real person can play it or not. What matters is, does it sound good? Is it musical? Does it help to tell Pascal's story of these lovely birds, And does it represent that carefree feeling of life? Yeah, like actually you could with two xylophonists. You probably could play this, but once again, it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what matters is the music. That's it.
So your production, David, if I may say, is cinematic. So those string lines, the marimba, it's a contrast between the soaring of the pelicans and then the goofing around, the diving and the nipping at each other and then landing on the pier and doing what they do.
Before I close this one out, hey, let's introduce a new segment to the podcast. We'll call it Questions from Levi. So, because Levi often will, not often, but occasionally will ask me a specific question about the production. And so before I close it out, Levi, did you have any questions before I
Thanks
I
for
close this
asking.
one?
Yeah. Today I was particularly quiet because I had dog shit internet.
Seems to be stable now. It's like
Seems
cat
to-
shit now. So
Yeah. Well, my question would be, and I wanted to ask this even in previous episodes, but I didn't want to, drag it any longer. But since we're at this point, yeah, my question would be, what would be your advice in terms of mixing a lot of instruments which are happening at once? I mean,
Yeah.
we have usually keys, guitar, we have
Right.
strings, everything happening at once, and it's not
I know.
easy to mix
No.
this. And it sounds amazing here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, look, I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. When people ask me, like, do you know what all those buttons do? It's like, yes, I know every single one. I just can't figure this one. It's the only one I don't know. I'm joking. Anyway, the point is that, technology does play a part. There's no denying it, and, we have evolution. So, for example, in the rack right over there, there's a real H3000. So 30 years ago, it was just, these racks of hardware that you see, and I kept all these because they're like my paintbrushes in a way, So I think that, I guess, what probably the most important advice is that your mix always follows your arrangement. This is the key. Because so look, let's do this. I'll explain this like in the following way. So, there are a lot of different things that are going on. Now, percussion generally stays out of the way because it's a what's called indefinite pitched instrument. So in other words, it's not do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. Right? This generally just stays out of everybody's way. Okay, so basically our indefinite pitch is handled. Then we have, for example, our guitar lines and bass lines together. So these guys, this is covering the exact same range that the piano can cover.
Exactly.
And the piano is actually what gets put down in the mix, actually, because we're always looking for, okay, well, what is the most important instrument in this arrangement? Most important instrument is Pascal's voice, always, you know. So I tend to build these arrangements around his voice, you know. But look, here's what I mean by arrangement. Your mix follows your arrangement. So, you know, if you've got a string line here and you want to have a melodic pattern, put it way up high. Because having it up that high is going to cut above Pascal's voice, right? If we just solo that high string melody in his voice.
Pelicans are friendly.
See that?
They kibitz all day.
For those that don't know the word kibitz, it literally means to just have small talk and chit chat. Just in case anyone was wondering. Anyway, so that's what I mean by your mix always follows your arrangement.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I guess I mean, look, there are a lot of technical things that I do to get everything to mix and to blend well. One of which is, you know, using an SSL channel strip. For those that don't know what this is basically, well, it's a mirror of this guy right over here. So all these functions over here, I can control. You can see I'm moving the dial, and you can see it's, you know, and so for example, you know, if we want to move two things at the same time, I just realized I'm actually affecting a live mix. I shouldn't do that. Anyway, so this has something called a compressor, right? And so what the compressor does is it looks at the whole dynamic range of just the piano in this case. And here you can see it's reducing, it's telling us, this meter tells me that it's reducing the dynamic range by 6 decibels. Now, without getting too technical on everybody, if I whisper, you can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
And if I speak really emphatically, you don't have to jump and turn the volume up and down because I have a compressor. So the compressor looks at the whisper, looks at the scream, and says, you know what, we got to cool these people down here, and we're going to bring them all to... So compression is the key to getting good mixes. You know, that's the real... If there's any secret sauce, okay, that's it. And if you examine my actual mix, which, you know, this is the entire mix as it is. So as you can see, there's a lot of things to manage over here. Every single channel strip has one of these compressors engaged also. That you'll see every channel, the dynamics are always engaged. And that, honestly, that is half the battle, is just understanding how does a compressor work? What does it do? How is it going to help me? We're putting compression on every single channel. And that is half of your mix, because then you're only dealing with leveling at that point. And when I say leveling, what I mean is literally you're just getting the levels on your mixer. You're just mixing everything. And of course, sometimes you need to do equalization. Equalization is just a volume switch, but on a particular frequency. So I can just say, hey, you know what? There's too much bass in the piano, and it's fighting the bass guitar. I don't want them to fight. So I'm going to do what's called a high-pass filter, which allows the highs to pass through, which is why it's called a high-pass filter. And then what that does is it cuts the low end a little bit so the bass can have more presence in the mix. Yeah. Basically, we have to EQ and sort of shape everything around that area because we want Pascal to stand out the most. So the bass is not going to interfere with what Pascal does. High violins is also not going to interfere with what Pascal does. High end of the piano. It's all that mid-rangey piano and guitar chord. That's where it becomes difficult. And, you know, this is where we can do things like panorama, right? Where we can pan things to one side or, you know, pan them onto the other side. Let's see here. Check 1, 2. There we go. Look, we can move me over to the left side or we can move me over to the right side. It's, you know, it's our choice. And yes, it took me years and years to figure out on a Zoom call how to actually get stereo. So if anybody wants to know the secret, ping me and I'll teach you.